Welcome to the Awesemo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal Emac coming to you on a Monday morning with a special guest. Because we like to keep everybody on your toes, we are joined by Ryan. You guys know him better as Rinpack. You've seen him on a bunch of our NBA shows, especially during the playoffs and the fun stuff with Fast Eddie Fear, a little Summer League, a little finals, NBA Finals showdown. Welcome to the first Early Bird podcast in the Osmo vein. I know you've did a few back in the FanVice days.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be on, Emac. Glad to be on for this to talk about this Monday 9-game slate. Coming off a very, very interesting NFL Sunday. Obviously, a plethora of injuries that we had to deal with, but that's how NFL is, and that's why we play DFS. We're back at it the next day.
As always. So we've got a bunch of teams in action here. It's a 9-game slate on Monday. We're, of course, going to treat it with the injuries that we're aware of. We're recording this on Sunday evening. We've got lines for all but two of the games. There's quite, which one would be the Clippers and the Pacers. Clippers waxed the Wizards on Sunday, and it's a back-to-back for them. So Kawhi likely to sit it out, and Paul George, initial news was they weren't sure, and he has since come out and said he plans on playing. So I suspect we will see him. I'm guessing we won't see Kawhi. And then the other game we're waiting on is Minnesota at Phoenix. Minnesota game's going on right now. They've got a few people that are dinged up, including Karl Anthony Towns. Jeff Teague ended up playing on Sunday night, and then Shabazz Napier played as well. But since they've got a bunch of people dinged up, we're waiting on that one. And then likewise, Phoenix has question marks for Aaron Baines. And I think that was the main guys for them. But we're going to go, as we normally do, by position here. We'll kind of let DraftKings be our guide, but we'll chime in when we get some interesting stuff from the other sites. And then a reminder, we are sponsored by Yahoo. So you'll definitely want to check out their games. They have the baller every day now for NBA. And then it was a $200,000 baller for the NFL Sunday. Yours truly looks like he's going to cash one lineup in there. A little too much Parker from Miami. Sadly, he led me to the promised land the last 2 weeks. Got hurt, concussion in this one. So not a good week over there for me, but I've had some fun there with basketball. You can check them out. If you have not yet signed up for Yahoo, what are you waiting for? Go to the bottom section in any of our cash game building blocks articles, which is in a daily article series that is free, or the NFL primetime articles that is also free, written for Thursday, Sunday, and Monday Night Football. Bottom section there will give you the instructions, link, login, and promo code on how you can claim $30 with your initial DFS deposit bonus. And as Laffy said, Yahoo, where you can be a baller. All right, point guard, the world is your oyster. What do you like here at the top? We've got Russell Westbrook coming off a triple-double. We have Kemba Walker, who has been an absolute mixed bag his first season here with the Celtics. And then we've got down, as we continue moving on, D'Angelo Russell is back from his thumb injury. And we've got an injured Fred VanVleet. Ricky Rubio's back. Oh, wait. He's very familiar with the Minnesota squad, having played there. This one is in Phoenix. What do you like, Ryan, at our main point guard spot here?
Yeah, like you said, up top we got Westbrook and Kemba Walker. Both Boston's heavy favorites tomorrow against very woeful Cleveland Cavs team that just got absolutely waxed by the Sixers the other night. I think in garbage time, both O'Quinn and Burke put up like 40 fantasy points in a blink of an eye. So go figure.
I had zero Kyle O'Quinn. I also had zero Matisse Thybulle, but I ended up running a train with my main lineup. I was on air with Eddie and had a little upload error. So just say it. I swept my cash games, but did not do very well in the tournaments. But enough about me. Continue on with point guards, please.
Yeah, so up top in the point guard position, obviously, I mean, you have Harden, who usually on the slate, from what I have currently looked at, it's always going to come down to Harden or Giannis in terms of raw points. And obviously, in this particular slate, I do like in that matchup against Sacramento, Harden at that 12K price tag, depending on what value opens up. Obviously, trying to find a way to jam Harden in always seems like a good place to start. Usually hovers around that high 50s, low 60s fantasy point range, and even more. Russell Westbrook had a phenomenal game last time out. Really, you could get yourself different when you I think made the pivot from Simmons to Westbrook. That was the difference maker on Saturday night, I believe. He played really well. Interesting news to keep an eye on is Malcolm Brogdon, priced at 7.3, a very favorable price tag for him. He's going to be placing against the Clippers, but we've seen Brogdon this year just take his game to another level, and it's going to be fun riding Brogdon out. I saw him warm up before the Knicks game. He did seem like it was he hurt his pinky finger. So with that being said, I feel like the Pacers coaching staff and medical team were like they're playing the Knicks. I think we'll be just fine without Brogdon, and they did win the game by one. Price at 7.3. I'd be shocked if he doesn't play. But he's marked as questionable. But I do like that price tag at 7.3. What's your what are your thoughts on Brogdon? Donovan Mitchell priced at 7.4. Also very intriguing matchup. But what are your thoughts on the upper tier in terms of other players we can target?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've pulled up some more of the injury info just to point a few out. So Baines questionable with the calf. Saric should play. Favors still dealing with some personal stuff. Not sure what his status is going to be. Van Vliet left the game on Sunday with a bruised knee. We'll have to see if he's going to play on the back-to-back against Chicago. Gordon Hayward potentially making a return. That could throw some things into flux there. As you mentioned, Brogdon. Hand, pinky. I've seen a couple different things on him, but I thought it was his pinky finger on his right hand. Magruder questionable with the hamstring from that same game, and then there's a chance we could see John Morant back. So that was a bit of a surprise because he was week to week, but he's only missed about a week. But with regards to Brogdon here, he's someone I haven't gone to a lot. I really liked him out here in Virginia, and he was a 4-year player out there at the University of Virginia, and I caught a few games here and there when they had the Cavaliers games on for whatever reason. Well, I know the reason is a former coach at Washington State University that was coaching out in Virginia, and I used to grow up in the state of Washington. Yeah, enough about that. But in any event, I watched him play a few times. Really liked it. Thought he was a great draft pick there for the Bucks. He's really come into his own here with Indiana, and I've hardly played him at all. So I think I don't have the best read upon him, but as the price continues to be favorable, he is definitely someone I think you can look at there. If we look at some of the other guys around him, you've got, let's see, Chris Paul here coming in on the back-to-back. He's finally starting to show some signs of life. He's another guy I really haven't played in that mid-tier. You have Drew Holiday. He's someone I like a lot. Been disappointed a fair amount, and I thought he was really going to play a lot more like he did down the stretch last year when Anthony Davis and all those other guys were out. But even though now he is kind of the guy with Brandon Ingram, hasn't really quite come to fruition with those big games. He's a solid player. He's averaging 19 points, 5 boards, almost 7 assists, and 2 steals per game. So no one's going to be mad about that. But you're not seeing his forays into the 50 fantasy point land as frequently as we once did. So that's a little frustrating. You've got Ricky Rubio. He's kind of priced up. Plus he and Devin Booker, while it's good for real basketball that they play together, not so good from the fantasy standpoint. So I think I'm going to go all the way down to combo guard, point guard / shooting guard, Lou Williams, before I find the name that really stands out for me here. He is not, well, he's very scoring dependent. He's had some mediocre games lately, but he's the kind of guy you want to look to when Kawhi is out on those back-to-backs, and I think some gamers may overlook that. Those are kind of the guys I like in the mid-tier. Anything else standing out to you in the mid-tier, or any bargain guys?
Yeah, some point per dollar plays that are striking my eye a little bit. Alonzo Ball priced at 5.2. He's been a little inconsistent. He has missed some time due to some injury earlier in the season. Came back, priced at 5.2. He's shown an upside where he can get that 40 fantasy point threshold. They're playing against Detroit, and Detroit's no defensive stalwart. Detroit is not a very good basketball team, so Alonzo Ball at 5'2" is definitely does stand out. You can take some shots with Kobe White at 4'4". Obviously, it's a GPP play that you can take a look at. Other plays that stand out in terms of point per dollar in the mid tier. Well, Marquel Falls has priced himself all the way up to 5'4". He's definitely shown his improvement. It's glad to see him healthy. Kind of coming into stride in his. This is his third year now in the league. Yeah, third year. So yeah, it's the interesting spot. We're obviously going to keep an eye on news. People might go to Pat Beverly, obviously, with the lack of without if Kawhi, with Kawhi marked as doubtful right now. He's priced at 5K. I'm not the biggest Pat Beverly fan. He has shown his ups and downs, and I think now, especially with Lou Will and PG, there is just better for him to defer to those guys to take over. But and in the matchup against Indiana is also Indiana has shown that they're a good defensive team at times. So, but other than that, it's going to be important to keep an eye on news throughout the day on for the point guard spot.
Yeah, Pat Beverly getting a little long in the tooth now. 31 years old. He is someone that, if you find in the right spot, can do well for you, especially if he's coming off a few poor games. We always liked him when he was with Houston. Coming in, he'd get a depressed price tag, and then there'd be a matchup where they'd need him to play defense or something that would get him on the court a fair amount, and that would be the time to strike. I agree with you. When Kawhi's out, that'd be the time to look to him. With Fultz, the really great thing to see is his shooting percentages. 49% from the field. Yes, just 21% from three-point range, but we're glad to see him 49% from the field. And then from the line, he's almost up at 79%. Now he's taking just 2.1 free throws per game, but come on. We all saw the clips on Twitter, etc., of that major hitch in his shooting form. It's good to see that that is going away. Hopefully the rest kind of comes back for him. He may not be the dominating number one overall pick that he looked like he was going to be there in college, but it's good to see that maybe out of the limelight there in San Antonio, or not San Antonio, Philadelphia, or the scrutiny, he's going to have a chance to get his career back on track. So I like to see that. As we head over here to the shooting guard position, you had mentioned James Harden. He has just been absolutely phenomenal, but he is our apex price guy. He is 12,000 even on DraftKings, 12.2 on FanDuel, and then 58, which is the new cap. It was 55 at the beginning of the season, but it's 58 now on Yahoo. He's right there with Giannis, who is 58. Giannis is 100 less on FanDuel, and then Giannis is 700 less on DraftKings, and we'll talk about that when we get to the small forward spot here. But there are 18 teams in action. Rinpack, we should be able to get the value that we need. Do we want to earmark this much of our salary cap, though, to the beard?
I say, well, why not? I mean, I'm a big James Harden fan in terms of DFS purposes, especially. You go into the slate feeling relatively safe about how he's going to perform in terms of he's going to always be in the potential to break the slate, putting up. He's shown multiple times before getting up to that 80 fantasy point mark. So James Harden at 12K, obviously pending news and roster construction. He's always someone who's always going to garner ownership just because of the name brand he carries with him. And I like the matchup against Sacramento. It's I to give me if you were to give me any reasons why to fade him, I'm gonna have to sit there and really gonna get convinced by you. I can't find anything off the top of my head as we take a first look at the slate to why move away from Harden. Outside of James Harden and the shooting guard position, I want to give some love to our sponsor site on Yahoo. There's some one way to get a really different on Yahoo where I found some successes. Obviously, just like taking advantage of the $10 players that there are there. There's usually a ton where you can find to open up salary, and that's one way that you can find a way to afford Harden and whatnot. The roster construction there is a little different because of how salary ends up playing out. But over there on Yahoo, people who stand out who are $10 to me, Jordan Clarkson's $10. Obviously, he's a very volatile player, but He's priced all the way down to 10. Austin Rivers has been getting run here and there, obviously with Eric Gordon, who still continues to be out. And Langston Galloway is also $10. He's someone who can get hot in a hurry. These are just GPP risks that I'd usually consider when I build my lineups on Yahoo. JJ Redick is down at 14. That's another option where you can also take a look at. Those are my thoughts on Yahoo in terms of shooting guard position. But in DraftKings, we should also consider taking a look at who stands out. Buddy Hield at 7-1. If you want to have a little mini game stack between those two, that's an option. Um, Jaylen Brown, barring Gordon Hayward news, he has shown that he is taken up in usage, and while Gordon Hayward has been gone, Chris Middleton is getting his conditioning back more or less. He was came off starting off the bench a little bit, priced at 6-6. He started the game against the Clippers, so that's there. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I know he's playing Utah, but he's priced at 6-6. He has definitely shown his upsides throughout the season so far. What are your thoughts on that mid-tier range? Any basement ballers that you are a fan of in terms of the shooting guard position on the sites and DraftKings and FanDuel?
Buddy Hield's been one of my favorites, so I really do like this matchup against Houston for them. I, of course, have the Fred Van Elite fan club. That one will be going live. I will have to play Fred Van Vliet unless he is ruled out. If he is ruled out, I will take. Oh, I don't know what I'm going to do this year. I'll probably take some comparable player there in Toronto. We'll look into that more tomorrow. What I was doing last year when I was doing these things is I was playing Fred Van Elite sort of as a joke because that's what I would call him in our Slack chat. And so people would say, hey, why don't you play him in a contest if you like him so much? Hence, the contest was born and it continues to grow. But it was kind of a joke because he was not the best player and he was the third guard and he was dinged up a lot last year and was only really good if Kawhi or Lowry was out. But if they both played and he was priced up, it was a mess. So I was kind of losing more often than not, much to the delight of everybody else. This is the first time he's been dinged up. So what I'd been doing previously was just going to someone like Norman Powell, etc. Not trying to get a great play, but just someone on the same team of a similar price point. So we'll see what I will do with that one. But Van Vliet did leave with that
Speaking
bruised
of
knee.
Buddy Hield, it's going to be important to keep on news on Marvin Bagley. He was
Yes.
questionable today. He was ruled out, but he's very very close to returning. He's been had full contact practices and whatnot. On the same side, on the same King side, Bogdanovich, priced at 4-8 on DraftKings, does also stand out. And D'Angelo Russell, priced at 7-9 and 7-7 on FanDuel and DK respectively. He's playing Memphis. Memphis has been a very favorable matchup for guards so far this season. D'Angelo Russell should get all the shots he wants in whatever time he does play. It's going to be an idea to just hear some coach speak about what his minutes limit is going to be like going forward. I want to see how much he played against Chicago last time out. So let's pull that up.
And while you're looking at that, if we find out Brogdon's out, then it's going to be Aaron Holiday or TJ McConnell that get a little bit of a bump.
He played 29 minutes last time. He had a 21.2 usage. So it was a 2-point game. So it's going to clearly obviously don't feel safe about paying a 7-9 price tag, but he can in 29 minutes against Memphis. Yeah, I think he can find a way to get there. It's he's going to get all the usage. So I'm definitely going to take my shots with D'Angelo Russell tomorrow.
All right, let's move on to small forward here. We've got Giannis up at the top. You've got we've mentioned Paul George. Let's just say he's very familiar with the shooting background of Banker's Life Fieldhouse.
Oh yeah.
Wink, wink, nod, nod. He's been there before. But you've got him, you've got Brandon Ingram. Andrew Wiggins did end up playing. He's been dealing with a bit of a thumb injury. He played on Sunday night. We'll have to see how he does, but he's got a nice matchup there with Phoenix. You've got Kelly Oubre Jr. coming back on the other side there. He is someone I always like to look to. And then Evan Fournier. Everybody's kind of getting healthy with the exception of Vucevic here, but Fournier has an intriguing matchup, in my opinion, going against Milwaukee here, who still tends to funnel the opposing team to the wings to get their shots up. and that is something that Fournier excels at. What are your thoughts here on Antetokounmpo, Paul George, Ingram, etc.?
So on FanDuel, Giannis is 12-1. There's gonna be a decision factor to be made. Giannis is playing against Orlando, and Harden is playing against Sacramento. Where you want to allocate that salary? Right now, I'm going to be looking at to rather spend the money at Harden, but things can definitely change. Um, Gordon Hayward is priced all the way down to 3.5 on FanDuel, which stands out if Brad Stevens comes out. There's no minutes limit. It's not a lower body injury. It's a wrist or elbow injury, I believe. So he had
It
hand
says,
surgery.
yeah, just said hand injury. He went through Sunday's practice, although it was a
Okay.
light practice. They said that there's a decent chance, as long as the bones in his hand have healed enough, and they said he's already been banged it a few times. So if he can handle the pain, he will be playing. So
All
if
right.
not
So
Monday, for probably almost assuredly the next game.
I mean, talk about a matchup to come back in to get yourself a little warmed up against Cleveland, price at 3.5. But Paul George price at 8.7, no Kawhi. It's gonna be hard to move away. I mean, he's gonna play with a chip on his shoulder in Indiana. I mean, he got his wish that they traded him. So, but he's definitely. I feel like you always want to go back and show out a little bit. It's just the nature in him. I
Human
feel like
nature, come on.
yeah, it's like how can you not? Pascal Siakam's priced at 9.1. That's a good Paul George pivot. If I feel like against another favorable matchup in Chicago, but outside of I'm going to be really intrigued to hear what Gordon Hayward is like at the coach. If there's any minutes limit, even if there is a minutes limit, and I'll if it's like going to be like somewhere in the mid 20s at 3.5. Right now it's small forward. It's going to be hard to move away from Paul George and Gordon Hayward for me right now. Granted, we're about what 20 hours before lock, so a lot things can definitely change. So
Yeah, absolutely. Hayward 29, he's power forward on Yahoo. We'll kind of use this as our transition over there.
Mhm.
Paul George is 36. He's also power forward eligible. But wait, we are reading this right. It just dawned. Hey, is Hayward really 3,000?
3,500 on FanDuel, I believe. Yeah.
He is 3,000 even on DraftKings. How did that happen?
Wow. So
DraftKings almost never does that. Interesting. Well, there
yeah,
we are.
he's down at 3,000, and who else is in that
I
range?
literally cannot remember seeing that happen. Now, odds are he probably won't play, and they'll bump him up for the next game to a more
Yeah,
appropriate price level.
but
But
like
wow,
I mean, tomorrow it's gonna come down to what they decide on what's gonna happen if he's gonna play or not and how much. And but at 3K against Cleveland, it's
20 minutes of
I lo-
Gordon Hayward forehand or not, that feels about
yeah,
right.
feels really good. Jermichael Green priced at 3.5. No
Mhm.
Kawhi. He's gonna get a few extra minutes. Yeah, but Gordon Hayward's at 3K, so it's gonna be tough to move from that.
Yeah,
Other
everybody
good.
seems really expensive now. Pascal Siakam, oh my gosh, 7,900. That's really a decent price going against
That's good.
Chicago. They've already played once this year, and of
Mhm.
course, Toronto had their way with them. You've got him coming off an okay game on Sunday in the loss to Phoenix. There, 7 of 18, not the easiest of matchup going against um, fellow Cameroonian Joel Embiid, but he wasn't horrible. But he's been made that next step this year to averaging just shy of 25 points a game, 8 boards. He's pretty solid. You've got Blake Griffin at 7,200. He had a very nice game against Indiana. He and Drummond both did, but he had
Mhm.
almost 43 fantasy points. That's a good one. Gordon Hayward, uh, hit or miss, intriguing for tournaments. Kevin Love, if healthy, I. What do you think is going on with the Kevin Love thing here? They want to showcase him enough to trade him. I don't even think they really need to showcase him. Everybody knows what Kevin Love can do, but it seems like they're kind of having him in bubble wrap right now.
Yeah, if they are showcasing him for trade, they're like, it's gonna be tough to like project what happens, and he plays for such a bad team that they just get blown out. So it's just like he's Is he going to play 30 plus minutes in tomorrow's matchup? You'd hope so. It's tough to see what happens. I'd like him just to get traded so we don't have to deal with this Kevin Love conundrum every slate whenever he's on there. Uh, Another interesting play, someone I think you were about to get to is Cam Johnson. He's been closing some games for Phoenix. Obviously, with it's gonna see if Baines is gonna get ruled in or not. I think Baines is very very close to just. I think my gut says he's gonna play tomorrow, and that with him coming in, it's gonna be shift everyone down a little bit, like it's in the front court. So maybe Cam Johnson loses some minutes there, but he has looked good. He's a sharp shooter. A lot of NBA draft people said he was the best shooter out in the draft, and the Suns definitely did reach at him. I think they took him 11th or 12th overall. They definitely have high hopes for him. Price at 4-2. Uh, like you said, Kevin Love down at 6'4". Do you think he plays 30 minutes tomorrow? I mean,
No, I really,
no.
I think that's his ceiling now until
Mhm.
something happens. And where I was going with the, everybody kind of knows what he is. He started off the season phenomenally.
Oh yeah.
And then, so didn't play a back to back, and then he was hurt. This one's in Boston, so it's on the road. I would think they would play him a little more at home if they're going to, but he has topped 25 minutes just once in his last 5 games. That was 31 in a semi-competitive game against Milwaukee 3 games ago, and then, geez, just twice in his last 7. So sadly, that may be a little bit of fool's gold there for us. We will have to see. If Baines is back, that kind of curtails Kaminsky, some of the other guys. Jay Crowder, it's a good guy. Kind of wrap it up here.
Mhm.
He's a guy that can contribute across the board. We've got Memphis against Golden State, 2 teams that really are not playing defense. Bottom 5 in the league. Relatively up tempo game for both. That's the kind of game where Crowder can thrive. He should see 30 minutes. He gets close to a fantasy point per minute at 5,200 on DK with small forward and power forward eligibility. I'm sensing I'm going to see a fair amount of him in my lineups.
Another person that was some news pending is Derek Favors, priced at 5K on DK. He's recovering from his mother passed away, so I don't know what the status is, but he's priced at 5K. When he started off earlier in the year, he was priced he was priced in the mid sixes at some point, so his price has definitely come down. Another guy who has been played well all year and consistently well is Domantas Sabonis at price at 7-8 on DraftKings. Someone who's definitely standing out. And Paul George is also 7-8 and power forward eligible on DK. So there's some very good intriguing options. A lot of players are priced below. I mean, Gordon Hayward and Paul George both are power forward eligible. So those are 2 intriguing options that I'm taking a look at.
All right, let's
Um,
hit the
on
centers and move on out of here. You've got Drummond, you've got Gobert, Capella, Valanciunas. A lot of choices here. What do you like at the top?
So let's take a look. Center eligible. Yeah, so Capella is priced at 7-4 on DraftKings right now. He's a lot of people were worried that Westbrook was going to steal his rebounds. I don't think that's been happening of late, and he's playing against Sacramento. So that matchup, it's obviously a favorable one. I do like that price tag at 7-4. Carl Towns priced at 9-3. That's something I think the Baines news there will play a role, but 9-3 Carl Towns. Even if Baines is playing, I definitely do like that as well. Myles Turner is all the way down to 5-3. This guy has definitely shown an upside in the past. He is playing differential to obviously there's some new guys around in Jeremy Lamb and TJ Warren there, and Sponis has definitely upped his offensive game. And if you were projecting a blowout, Enes Kanter is down at 3-8. So, and he's playing against Toronto. We just saw what Kyle O'Quinn did. I'm not saying that's going to happen again, but
Why
Enes
not? They're
Kanter,
similar players. They don't
yeah,
play defense, massive fantasy point per minute. They're both solid rebounders and scorers in the paint. They're just major defensive liabilities these days.
that is true. And so that's a potential option. Valanciunas at 7-1. against Golden State. Yes, count me in there. So there are a lot of options at center. It's probably one of those days where the center utility, especially on Yahoo, that's a very common build. I usually have a center utility because a lot of centers are usually underpriced there. It's I usually use a center in my utility spot. So let's pull up some Yahoo center prices, and cover those. So
Yeah, like I
people
always
who
like to say that not all $10 players are created equal on Yahoo, but there are
Mhm.
some good ones if you're looking in the right spot.
For sure, Daniel Tice is $10 if you're interested there. Ivica Zubac, Enes Kanter is also 10.
Oh,
Mo Bamba's 11. He's one of those you can take some darts there. Nerlens Noel is also 11. He has shown sometimes Donovan has split the minutes at times, but Adams has now past couple games played a couple more. Myles Turner is down to $20 there. Who else stands out? Wendell Carter, 22. Tristan Thompson at 23. Rudy Gobert at 33. That's what stands out to me at center on FanDuel so far. Is there anyone else that stands out to you on center?
not at center. Cam Johnson's popping at 10 for power forward there. I think Chris Dunn, tougher
Mhm.
matchup there against Toronto, but Toronto is on the back to back. You've got Dunn has been sort of playing somewhat alongside Tomas Sonoransky now, but it lessens his efficiency, but it gives him more minutes being in the starting lineup. But at 12, I'm willing to roll the dice with him if we need some of this discounted savings there on a presenting sponsor, Yahoo. But I think that's going to wrap it up for us here. Any final thoughts before we get on out of here?
No, I think very important news to the slate tomorrow is keeping an eye on what Gordon Hayward, Brad Stevens comes out and says. Clearly, priced at 3K on DK and 3.5 on FanDuel is a very nice. I would say maybe a free square to start your day tomorrow. So, with that being said, I had a lot of fun doing this. Glad to be on. But other than that,
Excellent.
I have no
Well,
other.
I appreciate you jumping in here and helping us out. Give everybody your Twitter handle so they can give you a follow.
Yeah, on Twitter, I'm at Rinpak. That's RYNPAK. It's I play. That's my handle pretty much across all the DFS sites, so you can find me there. Not an active Twitter user. I tweet maybe here and there, but you can give me a follow.
Excellent. Well, and you can always find us there in the premium Slack over on Osmo. If you guys have not yet signed up, you can use the promo code EarlyBird to get 50% off any 1 month package. That's EarlyBird, all one word. You can follow me at EMACDFS. And of course, it is Osmo_COM. Make sure to follow our various Twitter handles. They are doing constant giveaways and such. And Rinpak's one of the guys that handles that behind the scenes. Remember, I tell you guys on these podcasts, we all pull double duty here. We're not just doing the analysis. We have many roles behind the scenes, keeping the site running and functioning, and that's how we are able to bring to you such excellent content and produce a fair amount of free content. We have a very well-oiled machine there on the behind the scenes. But thank you again for everybody tuning in. At 9:30, you're going to get the DFS strategy show. At 11:30 or at 11 o'clock on Monday, you're going to get the NBA or I'm all backwards now. The NFL DFS strategy show. You're going to get NHL hockey show from I think it's going to be Nolan and Jake tomorrow, and then at the deep dive at 5, and then live before lock at 6. So wall-to-wall content. Make sure you follow us on YouTube so you can be aware every time we go live. With that, gamers, good luck.